In studio with us, Antoine Dionne Charest. First of all, welcome. Thank you for being here today. And you're not here because you like the coffee. You're here because today, the Liberal Committee that went across the province, and I understand you talked to over 500 people across Quebec. We talked about this before it began. Has now issued, and I'm holding in my hand, the 75-page report called A Liberal Plan for an Assertive, United, and Prosperous Quebec. So, Antoine, thank you. There are a lot of questions to ask here. I already heard discussion this morning. Some people, I'm going to say, not all that thrilled with what is in here. There are a couple of things that are questionable as well. But before we get into that, talk about what you heard from Quebecers, because I know to your credit, you actually note that in the report.
Yes, glad to be here. I had the opportunity to speak with Natasha in August, and we spoke about the report. And now, can I just say something about the report, just a general remark? Liberals like to say that they want to be the alternative to the CQ government, but usually the problem is, what does that mean, and where do Liberals stand on a host of issues, particularly issues that matter not just to the Anglo communities, but the Anglo community, but Quebecers in general. We finally have something to say, and this is serious. It's substantial. It's not perfect, but it's substantial. And we finally, I think, have a compass, something that can help our party. And I'm very proud of the work we've done. So we've canvassed the province. We've met more than 500 members of the party, non-members, even people who don't support us. We visited almost all of the regions of Quebec, from La Gaspésie, Montreal to La Côte-Nord. And one thing that does stand out is that Liberals are very lucid about the state of the party. But they want to rebuild. And they understand that there needs to be a change, and a pretty significant change, and that Liberals need to get their act together. And that report is part of that process. And there are proposals in terms of the economy, culture, language, federalism. We do cover a lot of things, but I think it's to be expected, and I think that's what Quebecers want.
I mentioned just off the top, and I'm going to ask you again, with respect to, it's one thing to say we need to rebuild the ship, and those are regular kind of coined phrases we've all heard before from the party, which is having a difficult time, as we all know. When you ask people, what can we do, or what's wrong with the party? What would you change? What do you want to see us do? I know you note those in the report, from what I understand. I haven't read the whole report, but you acknowledge some of those questions. What are they? What did people tell you have to change or you have to fix?
So we decided to be completely transparent, to tell the truth, and we wanted the voice of members to be heard. And there was a lot of self-criticism about the party, whether it's communications, whether it's the organization of the party, or whether it's policy and the platform. And we were told we were told that on certain issues we just weren't clear, that we got certain issues wrong. I'm thinking about language, for example. Mm-hmm. And that it was time for a change. But I think it's important. We didn't shy away from self-criticism. And I think maybe in the past we have. And in that report, for the first time, I'm not a fan of self-criticism, but I don't think you can grow as a political party if you don't. That's in the report. And I think that's also progress.
Did you hear from people who simply said they're done, that they've given up on the Liberal Party?
No. But that they want change, and that they're expecting. They're not just, and that they're expecting the party to get its act together. So what was the mandate? So our mandate was to provide a compass for the party, help the party state clearly where it stands on the issues that matter. The party will have to do a lot of work on organization and communications, but we did put that in the report, but that was not the objective. Our goal was to canvass the party, was to canvass members, and to formulate, or the word we use is compass, give the party a compass so that it can state clearly where it stands. And that's been a pretty important question. So no, members are lucid. And I don't think what we've done is trivial. We've done a lot of work, and the work isn't done. It's just starting.
Let's talk about a couple of things in here as they relate. You mentioned politics, language. Those have been two key issues, certainly for voters here, Anglo voters. So what's in here for Anglos?
A couple of things. First, a clear acknowledgement that when we speak of Quebecers, that it includes Anglos, and in particular for Liberals. If Liberals one day want to regain power, They need the support of the Anglo community. And quite frankly, I don't see the Liberals gaining power without the support of the Anglo community. But the message needs to be sent. And I remember our conversation, Natasha, when I used the word nation, you told me some people cringe. And I remember my answer was, well, because they don't feel that they're part of it and that they feel that they're excluded. So we're proposing a constitution that would entrench the rights of the Anglo community with regards to education, healthcare, and social services. Same with interculturalism. And I want to highlight something about interculturalism because I've heard a lot of criticism. I don't know anyone in Quebec who can explain to me what Quebec's policy on immigration is, what the principles are, how we live together in Quebec, how we manage, how can we manage and respect the Anglo community's rights, the flourishment of the French language. What are the basic principles by which we integrate and live amongst each other? And if I could be quite frank, when it comes to the Constitution, entrenching the rights of the Anglo community with healthcare and education, same with interculturalism, what we're proposing is a common project for the Anglo community that they can rally around. I think there are a lot of people in the Anglo community who feel that we've been on the defensive. We've been reacting to what the CEQ government has been doing and saying. Now is the time to be on the offensive. Now is the time to rally behind a common project that includes everyone, not just Anglo Quebecers, but every community in Quebec.
It seems to me, as I hear you say that, and I'm guessing our listeners might be reacting to some degree the same way, this idea of enshrining those rights, it seems to me the CAQ have basically taken every opportunity they can when questioned on this. When they introduced Bill 96, and we were sitting here every day trying to figure out, well, what does that mean? Are we not going to be able to do anything in English? They've gone out of their way with a variety of different ministers to say, no, nothing changes for you. You will still be able to have access, as far as health services are concerned, to everything you did before. Now, I'm leaving out immigrants. I'm leaving out people who had that 6 months to learn a new language. But as far as historic Quebec Anglos are concerned, that nothing changed for them. So how is what you're proposing any different from what we already have now?
Historic Anglos? Think about it. When you go on the ACQ website, if you want to access the English version of the website, you need to identify as an historic Anglo. That's absurd. That's just frankly absurd. You could be a Quebecer and speak English, and you don't need to identify as one. Just that. And I'm thinking about Minister Robert's announcement today. They're going to increase tuition fees for foreign students and Canadian students coming to study in Quebec. I come from the Eastern Townships. There's an English-speaking university in the Eastern Townships called Bishops. That's not Montreal. There's an Anglo community in the Eastern Townships, and coexistence has worked pretty well between Anglophone and Francophones in the Eastern Townships. And why penalize a university such as Bishops? It's in what we call the regions. It has a worldwide reputation. Why would we do that today? How does that unite? Part of what we've been advocating for is we've been a party that has defended individual freedoms and the interest of Quebec. Fine, that's not. And we say, well, in 2023, what does that mean? Well, a Quebec that's assertive, united, and prosperous. United. Does it feel like I don't feel like the government is trying to unite Quebecers behind a common project? I feel, and that latest example, that's a pretty good example of a party that doesn't try to unite Quebecers, or Anglo-Quebecers in particular.
Right. When I think, too, about how we're supposed to have continued access to services in English, that's in theory. In practice, we've got, multiple reports of that not actually being what happens. So there's a climate of being against each other, if you will. And this, what I'm wondering is, in concrete terms, how do you start to change that? How do you actually change when you've headed in this direction and it's become acrimonious, and that lack of will is there to just kind of be unified? Because it seems like we're being more and more divisive these days, and that is the CAQ, I think, what they're trying to attempt to do. How do you begin to change that? And what will this document do to change that?
We need to stop being on the defensive and reacting to what the CEQ government is doing, and we need to start rallying around common projects. So a constitution of Quebec that entrenches the English community's rights is a common project, is something the community can rally behind.
Because you don't want to miss a thing. Montreal Now on CJAD 800.
Welcome back. We are joined in studio today by Antoine Dionne Charest. He is part of The Quebec Liberal Party that was out canvassing Quebecers over the course of the summer, trying to figure out exactly how to, trying to find the right word, revive the party because it's been a tough sled for the past little while. The Quebec Liberal Party, provincially, of course, has seen its support slip. This is not on the Francophone side, but pretty much across the board. So today, a 75-page report. This is after you met with Quebecers over the course of the summer. David Hertel, who is a regular commentator here on the radio station, he was on with Elias Makos earlier in the day and was asked about the report. I want you to hear what he had to say.
His son is on the committee. 4 former Charest ministers were on this committee. André Pratt heading this committee. I mean, does this send a message to Quebecers, ordinary Quebecers, that this is renewal, that this is rebuild? What you have here is, we'll get working right away on reforming the federal Senate and enshrining Anglo rights in the Constitution. This is so disconnected, you have no idea.
Okay. Disconnected is the word, Antoine. And the other issue there, and it's one that came up at the beginning when we knew what the makeup of this committee was going to be, there's not a lot of fresh new faces here. There are a lot of, call them retread liberals that apparently people have had enough of and would like to move forward. And they say if the party wants to move forward, that's what they need to do. They being the Liberal Party.
I'm not sure. I would invite David Hertel to read the report. I don't think he's read the report. And I'm surprised that he would target me individually and not take interest in the ideas.
Hold on. To be fair, what he simply said was the makeup of the committee includes Charest liberals, you being among them as the son of Jean Charest, and others as well, like André Pratt.
I happen to be a member of the party. I've been involved in the party for 15 years. That might make me old, although I'm 35 years old. I believe that the party can revive. I'm very surprised. There are people in our committee that are from all walks of life. Montreal, Quebec City. I'm surprised. Now, I want to answer because he did raise reforming the Senate. I think the future of Quebec is a pretty important question. And I think that a party that says that it's a federalist party, that says that it is to Quebec's advantage to be part of Canada and it's part of our identity, needs to have something to say about what Quebec's role in Canada is and making sure that Quebec is properly represented in Canada. So when we talk about Senate reform, we talk about one thing in particular, making sure that Quebec is properly, the interests of Quebec are properly represented within the Senate. Entrenching Anglo rights, we spoke about this before. There's a negative climate. There's a bad climate. And there's a lot of people there's a lot of people in the Anglo community who feel that they're not part of it. We are proposing a common project. It's fine to disagree. That's fine. It's fine to think that it's not enough. And that's okay. And that's legitimate. That is legitimate criticism. But there are young, old, and new liberals and liberals from all walks of life in all regions of Quebec in that committee. So I'm surprised. And again, very respectfully, I would invite Mr. Hertel to read the report.
But you can't. I mean, what he's getting at is just basically that this new improved version, or that the Liberals are working on anyway, this new version of the Liberals looks a lot like the old Liberals. And if you've got the same old people there, how do you make it? How do you refresh it? How do you present something different for Quebecers to really...
Natasha's point, that's really interesting because I think what David is alluding to is this is a report that basically says we need to have another report to see how we're going to change the Liberal Party. That there's nothing concrete enough in here to simply say, wow, they've really taken a different tact here, and this is something people can attach themselves to, certainly Anglos.
Reconnecting with Quebecers and the Anglo community is pretty important. The purpose of the report was to provide a compass for the party so that it could say clearly where it stands when we talk about Anglo rights, where it stands when we talk about the economy, finance, the environment. And I think there are pretty comprehensive proposals in there. And whether it's an industrial policy, whether it's providing regions in Quebec the financial autonomy that they need, especially municipalities, or le Plan Nord, interestingly enough. Yeah. You know, we think reactualizing the Plan Nord is important for one reason. There's only one Canadian province that has part of its territory in the Arctic. That's Quebec, excluding the territories. And the Arctic is now a geopolitical and a very in a very important territory today. There are natural resources. These resources are absolutely fundamental for our environmental transition. So I think it's pretty comprehensive. And we do have things to say about inflation and housing as well. That's pretty concrete. So
okay. I would say we're going to run out of time, and I want to make sure I ask this, and I think we kind of broached the subject last time I spoke to you. So we've mentioned about things here with an Anglo radio station that are in here for Quebec Anglos. The problem the Liberal Party has provincially, of course, is not with Anglos, it's with Francophones. You have 4% of the vote last time around. I mean, you could never win an election no matter if you gave Anglos free money. So what in this proposal, in this report, would make Francophone voters who want nothing to do with the provincial Liberal Party suddenly change their mind?
Party's getting its act together, and a common project for all Quebecers. A constitution that will guarantee and that will secure Quebec's future within Canada. Being clear on what we stand for when we talk about immigration, focusing on the issues that matter, focusing on the issues that matters today. But I want to stress one thing. This is a first step in rebuilding the QLP. Mm-hmm. This is a first step. There are comprehensive ideas in there. Work isn't done. We still have a lot of work to do. We have a Conseil Général this weekend, but that is a first step. And I'm very proud of the work that we've achieved.
You need a leader.
Yeah, I was going to say, where's finding a leader in this?
That'll be the next step. That's the. There needs to be a leadership race. There will be candidates. There will have to be debates about the future of the party and the policy. But at this stage right now, our goal is to show voters that the party is getting its act together, that it's making concrete proposals, and then have leadership race.
But how come no one wants the job? I mean, I find you're trying to reinvent the party and everything. Nobody wants the job. The one guy who did want it has been ousted from caucus.
I think after this lengthy report and the ideas that we're bringing forth, we have a Conseil Général this weekend. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty optimistic about the party.
Okay.
And I think some people are waiting for the party to get its act together before they throw their hat in the race.
Okay. Well, are you one of those people who might be throwing their hat in the ring?
I'd like to run as not as a candidate for leadership, but in a riding one day, and I'm confident that the party can rebuild and regain Quebecers' confidence. But for the moment, I'm promoting the report.
Okay, I was going to say you're going to get kind of old. You're 35 already. You might want to reconsider when you decide.
Do I look that old?
No,
not at all.
As far as this Liberal Party goes, you might be considered that way. Antoine, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you very much.
We do appreciate it.